Welcome back. Even as the Eknath Shinde, Devendra Fadnavis government won the trust vote earlier today, leaders of the opposition, Maha Vikas Agadhi, expect mid-term polls coming within 6 months in Maharashtra. The BJP leadership asserted that the government will complete the 2.5 years that it has got after the MVA experiment crumbled. NCP Supremo Sharad Pawar, however, indicates that the state is headed for mid-term elections. And echoing Mr. Pawar, Aditya Thackeray slammed Eknath Shinde and said that his camp of Shiv Sena was always ready for polls whenever it happens. So tonight, let's try and understand what could be the possible scenarios. Is this the end to the political uncertainty or only the beginning? And is mid-term polls a possibility as well? So joining us here on the program, Sanjay Gray, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court, PDT Achari, Constitutional Expert, and Smita Gupta, Senior Journalist. But before that, let's listen in. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving us your time. First up, let's listen in to what Aditya Thackeray said about challenging Mr. Shinde now for mid-term polls. This is what Mr. Thackeray said.
की हमारे विप का जो भी उल्लंघन जिन्होंने किया है उन पे कार्रवाई तो होगी 20 मेला त्यांना बोलून विचारलेलं तुम्हाला मुख्यमंत्री व्हायचंय का हम जब भी इलेक्शन हो तैयार है जनता तैयार है क्योंकि सवाल तो सबको पता है कि इनका क्या होगा जवाब सबको पता है कि शिवसेना दुगनी नहीं कई सारे ताकत लेके इस विधान भवन में आएगी और यहां वापस भगवा लहराएगी
Sanjay Hegde, is this hope against hope that they can still sort of have some, chip on their shoulder with which they can return to power, that the Thackeray Jr. is now talking about midterm elections, because it looks like the deal is sealed for Mr. Shinde. He's cleared the floor test. He has the numbers. What is your thought on the statements that are now coming in from the other camp?
Well, statements are political statements, but the legal battle will go on. There is a political battle also that is going on, and mostly it will get its final impetus with the municipality elections, because, as Mr. Achari will subsequently point out, the battle is for the control of the Sena. When a party splits, here there has been no political party splitting as yet. There has been a section of the party which has in the legislature which has gone away, which claims to be the real Shiv Sena, and which has not merged with another party. How far they come out of the purview of the Anti-Defection Act, things would have to be seen. But any new complaint, any complaints, or even pushing of the previous complaint which was filed before the previous deputy speaker will now have to go to the new speaker. So there will be several legal maneuvers over the next weeks, but the political battle as such, you may sense some direction in the after the municipal elections. There may also be interesting fallouts when the cabinet is finally announced, and also the chairmanships of various bodies or industrial corporations which the government controls. When all the loaves and fishes of office are distributed, obviously there will be dissidents. And when the situation is fluid as to who belongs to which Sena, there can always be a lot of comings and goings.
Mm-hmm. So 2 Shiv Senas and 2 party whips, and each one is saying that the other is illegal. I will, of course, bring in Mr. PDT Achari, who's an authority on the subject here. Mr. Achari, of course, you've written an article as well, which many of us have read, on why you feel that this is not entirely within the the anti-defection law, still could apply. I want you to give us clarity on this, especially on the fact that who has the who can call itself the legitimate party in this case, because that has got directly to do with who gets to call the chief whip, and therefore the legitimacy of the MLA is also connected to it.
See, let us have a perspective on what happened in Maharashtra. There, two-thirds of the MLAs of Shiva Sena went ahead and formed a government with the help of the party in the opposition, without any consultation with the president of the party, without any approval taken from him. After all, in a political party, the leader of the legislature group or the legislative party does not take major decisions. He can take decisions only with regard to the functioning of the House. For major political decisions are always taken by the party leadership. And in this particular case, and not only in this case, in the case of all other parties, it is actually the president who has the final say on all these matters. Now, forming a government, with the help of a political party in the opposition, is something which is a very vital decision. Therefore, as it happened, the president's approval is not there. And then, so what happens in this particular case? The president or the party, will certainly move a petition with the speaker to disqualify these people on the ground that they have voluntarily given up the membership of the party. So that is one thing. Now, as regards the question as to which faction is the real Shiva Sena, well, that, will be decided later by the Election Commission.
Okay.
That question cannot be decided by the Speaker or the House. But
That's
here,
very
I must
interesting.
clarify one
Yes.
thing. When the Speaker, let me just complete
Yes,
this.
please, sir.
When the Speaker, now petitions have been filed seeking disqualification of these 16 members. Now what happens now? The Speaker has to take a decision on these petitions. He cannot just postpone it, because as per the latest decision of the Supreme Court, perhaps last year or so, that a Speaker cannot take more than 3 months to decide the disqualification petitions. Now when he sits down to decide the issue, the first point that he has to consider is which party these people belong to. Which is their party? Because that is the most important thing. In the order which he will make, he has to mention that so and so, the member belonging to this party had put him up as a candidate, and so on. So, to decide that issue, you have to go back to the anti-defection law. That is explanation to para 2. That makes it very clear that it is the party which has set him up as a candidate in the election is the party to which he belongs. So the whole question will be decided on that basis. So the question as to which party he belongs to, etc., is settled by this explanation to para 2. So Speaker has to decide this case on the basis of that. That means these people, they belong to the Shiva Sena. And Shiva Sena is controlled by, or its president is Mr. Thackeray, Uddhav Thackeray. So that is how things stands today. Because these people, they could have certainly got exemption from disqualification if they had merged with another party. So that is the only option that is available to a defecting member.
Mr. Acharya, are you then saying that Eknath Shinde and the rebels cannot claim to be the real Shiv Sena? Because essentially what you're saying amounts to that as per the 10th schedule, as of this date, they cannot claim to be the real Shiv Sena, because you're saying Uddhav Thackeray is the party president. That's the party registered with the Election Commission as the legitimate Shiv Sena.
Well, it is not what I say. It is actually what the anti-defection law says, 10th schedule says. I was just quoting 10th schedule. So on that basis, if the Speaker is to decide, then he will have to take a particular decision in favor of the original political party. Because the whole scheme of the anti-defection law is to protect the stability of the party system. That you think, because parties are breaking up because of the frequent defections, IRMs and GRMs and all that. So to stabilize the party system, that was one of the basic objectives of this law. And if
But you know, the
that is
unfortunate
so to
part
be
is
destroyed,
that
naturally,
yes,
anti-defection law will come into.
each and every time when such a thing has happened, when you know, one ruling party has managed to overthrow another party from power and take over, which we've seen in a number of cases, Smita Gupta, the fact is that we are getting the impression as if there is a way around the anti-defection law. And if you know the way to do it, you get away.
Yes, that is very true. But the point I would like to really make, I mean, the legal aspects, I think, have already been dealt with by the previous two speakers. So I'd like to speak on the political part.
Yes.
I feel regardless of the legal outcome of, you know, which is real Shiv Sena, who gets a symbol, I think the real battle will be fought in the court of the people. Uddhav Thackeray may regain control of the party, may get the symbol, so forth, but he will have to fight out for control of the party within the party ranks, as well as, you know, among the people. And that will be his real test. So the real battle will be the political battle. If he gets the control, if he gets the party symbol and he is declared as the real party, Uddhav Thackeray, that's a moral victory. But the real battle will have to be fought among the people. That is one. Secondly, I'd like to point out that the first test for this new formations will be the corporation elections, which are coming up very soon. And there, you know, we have to see how this divided Shiv Sena really plays out.
Yes.
Thirdly, I'd like to point out that it is the BJP which has, you know, control now, and not so much Eknath Shinde, because the speaker is from the BJP, and the deputy chief minister, a man like Devendra Fadnavis, who was former chief minister, you've already seen he has been taking, reversing decisions that were taken by the Uddhav Thackeray government, and he's going to do them very quickly. So the control will be with the BJP politically and I think administratively. We'll also have to see who gets what portfolio, meaning which portfolios are given to which MLAs. But as I said, the whole battle now is political, which is why you hear Mr. Sharad Pawar predicting that within 6 months this will all collapse. Because if the BJP tries to take more space or more control, we have to see how Eknath Shinde takes that, you know,
Yes.
and the other MLAs.
No, that is, of course, on how the coalition works. That you know, but we still have to see what happens in court, Mr. Sanjay Hegde. To what extent do you feel that court observations, that is, the court hearing on the 11th of July, will be significant in this case?
It will be a significant event, but I do not know how much will be sorted out on the 11th. There is the preliminary question itself as to should the matter now go on in the Supreme Court. It may well be that all matters are sent back to the High Court, because after all, that is the court of first instance. And even earlier, the Supreme Court had not ruled out that possibility. There will be a fight before the Election Commission, and also, as Mr. Achari said.
Mm-hmm.
But the true fight will be for the hearts and minds of the ordinary Shiv Sainik, and especially the Shaka Pramukhs. The Shiv Sena runs on a system of Shakas all over, and they're permanently manned with the young people who are perennially there playing carom, and then who will get out immediately and do whatever is necessary at the instance of the Shaka Pramukh. So there have been all these stories about how Mr. Thackeray was earlier inaccessible. He has health considerations. Who is it who will directly talk to each and every Shaka Pramukh? And more importantly, keep the Shaka Pramukh from going over on the side which already has power. Because all that the Shaka Pramukh has to do is that, look, this is the Shiv Sena Shaka, and I'm with the government of the day. That's a very easy formulation. To stand for the Shaka Pramukh to stand up against the government of the day, led by people who have been his or her comrades. That also has its own implications. The historical instance that comes to my mind is of how the Telugu Desam was split between N.T. Ramarao and his son-in-law Chandrababu Naidu. N.T. Ramarao continued to insist that his was the true Telugu Desam, but unfortunately he passed away soon thereafter after a rival government claiming to be the Telugu Desam was formed. And then later elections proved that Mr. Chandrababu Naidu was the real Telugu Desam. So there is going to be a legal process. Okay. There is also going to be a process in the Election Commission, but the true process is in the hearts and minds of each Shiv Sainik, as well as in the electoral field.
Mr. PDT Acharya, what do you think? Who will settle this? Will the People's Court settle it? Will the Election Commission settle it? Will the Supreme Court on 11th have to intervene? Where will this finally get settled on who can actually stake claim to be the real Shiv Sena, because a lot lined up along with that?
Well, I fully agree with what Mr. Sanjay Hegde has said, because after all, the battle has to be fought on the ground, and I think both the groups, the factions, will gird up their loins, and perhaps they will fight the municipal election, because that is the first occasion when they will be confronting each other as rivals, and that will perhaps prove something. Okay. And in any case, it is the election which will settle issues, and the sooner it happens, the better. They have already started talking about midterm elections, because nobody thinks that this is going to be a durable kind of arrangement. So in any case, the matter will be settled by elections only. So far as the other things are concerned, we have there is a sense of deja vu. We have seen all these happening many times. The Congress split starting in, which occurred into 1969, and then after that many other parties. That question will be settled by the Election Commission.
But Mr. Acharya, don't you think that the law itself is not strong enough? Do you think that an anti-defection law has become toothless in many ways to avert something like this? Do you think there is more that requires in terms of law and to prevent, because time and again, like you said, sense of deja vu, time and again this is happening, somewhere the system needs to be fixed as well, you think?
Well, as far as the anti-defection law is concerned, of course, when this was enacted, I was very much there in the parliament. Yes. And, this Rajiv Gandhi, the Prime Minister at that time, he had made it very clear, and I had mentioned that in my article in Hindu, that this is a beginning. We are actually in a kind of uncharted territory. So let us see how things work out. And we may have to make improvements in the law. That is how it is. Because this is something which deals with politicians, mind you. It's not an ordinary kind of law. And then it is a constitutional law which deals with politicians. And their behavior is something, always do not conform to the norms that we set. Therefore, we have to tread very warily, very carefully. That is the thing. But that doesn't mean that we should get around the law and do whatever we like. That is not permissible. In fact, anti-defection law, if you look at para 4, which deals with merger, you will find that it is a very tough kind of provision. That means the lawmakers did not want people to resort to this so easily. That is why one of the conditions for merger is that the original political party has to merge.
But Mr. Acharya, by the time that is settled by court, the 2.5 years will be completed. Which is why I am asking, that is the law insufficient? I'd give the last word. Yeah, to Smita Gupta on this. Smita Gupta, yes, go ahead. Mr. Acharya, please complete. I'll move on later.
Actually, the law does not lay down any time frame. That is the thing. That was not done because, after all, it has to be decided by a high constitutional functionary like the Speaker. And the lawmakers reposed so much of faith in the impartiality and the sense of justice on the part of the Speaker. And that is why they did not want to lay down any timeline. But now the Supreme Court, perhaps last year or so, said that the Speaker will have to decide this matter within a period of 3 months. But after that, when it goes to the court, nobody can say
sir,
how long the court will take and how much time.
When you have speakers, when you have governors with political affiliation, how do the public, the people at large, have that kind of confidence that this will be a decision taken in the right earnest with due process? Because we all know the leanings, the political leanings. Quickly, sir. Yes, Smita Gupta, would you like to come in on that? Because it's very well known, the kind of affiliations that these high constitutional authorities have, unfortunately, do we really trust the process? Whether it's the Speaker or the Governor, people openly talk about which party they come from.
Well, the past so many years have shown, and why even before that people tend to be partial to their own party, their own interests. So I don't really have much faith in the new Speaker because, as I said, he's from the BJP. He will do what is best for the BJP and the coalition that has, floor test today. Yes.
Sanjay Hegde, you wanted to come in?
Yes, I was just reminded of what Chief Justice Venkatachalaya, who had heard the original challenge to the constitutionality of the 10th schedule, said. He said he went on that theory that the robes of office do change the man within. It may so happen with judges, but with political appointments like the Speaker or even now the Governor,
yes,
I don't think the robes of office have changed people.
Right. On that note, I'll have to conclude here. Thank you so much, Sanjay Hegde, PDT Acharya and Smita Gupta for joining us in this conversation. Well, that's it for now. News and updates continue here on Mirror Now. Do stay on.